Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Amy here. Today we're going to catch up on some more male romances that I have recently read. Now I just did my May wrap up and we talked about the ones that I read in May, but I read some before that. So we're going to talk about those in today's video. Starting with The Husband Hoax. This is by Saxon James. This is the first book in the Accidental Love series. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. I have not continued with the series yet. There are so many male romances I want to get to, and there is just not enough time to get to them all. So it's hard for me to like just really concentrate on a series unless I'm like super enjoying it. But I know this series is going to continue with a different couple. So I haven't read the second book yet, but I'm sure I will get to it. So our guys in this story are Christian and Emil. Emil is English and he is in the States for his grandfather's funeral. Emil already comes from a very well-off family, but he's not really worried about the money. In fact, he kind of hates his family because they think they are so much better than everybody else. Then we have Christian, sweet baby Christian. I loved Christian so much. He is living with a bunch of other guys, some gay. I think there might be one straight guy in the whole house. But he is a Broadway. Is he a Broadway performer, or he just performs in the theater? His cousin is getting married and he wants to show up with a date. He feels like he's always let his family down. His family are also, I mean, not as well off as Emil's family, but they do have like a higher rank. So of course they feel like he doesn't fit into the family dynamic, but he wants to show up and show them just how well he's doing, have a boyfriend, all those things. So he goes to hire a date for the night. Things happen, the date doesn't work out. He happens to run into Emil because they are in the same vicinity of where Emil's grandfather's funeral is and the wedding of Christian's cousin. They work out a deal to help each other out. Emil has to marry. It doesn't matter who, woman, man. He and his grandfather were very close, so his grandfather knew he was gay. But he just wants Emil to be married in order to get his inheritance. And then Christian needs a date for the wedding. So they help each other out. And the story kind of takes off from there. The two guys get to know each other. It turns into a fake dating kind of thing, into maybe a real dating. They really like each other. It was a very cute story. I love the background of these characters. They both have family troubles. Their families are just assholes, in my opinion. But I was really rooting for these guys. It was a great story. Then we have What We Broke. This is by Morley Valentine. Y'all, oh my goodness, this book, if you want to cry, read this. I didn't necessarily want to cry. I actually have been having this book on my TBR for a little while, but I was kind of scared to go into it because I knew it was going to be an emotional wreck. In this story, we have Jesse and Leo, 2 beautiful souls that just happen to find each other. This story is about a loss that they share between each other, so do check the trigger warnings before you hop into this. And we also have a timeline that goes back to how this couple met and kind of shows us their journey to where they are now in life and in their relationship / marriage. I don't want to give too much away about this book because I want you to go in, you really need to go into it blind. Just know that it does involve a loss between the 2 characters that puts one of our characters, not that the characters didn't feel the same, like grieve over this loss, but one of them essentially takes it harder than the other and just goes into a very dark place. The other one is doing their best to hold the marriage together, hold up his husband. So you really feel for both of them. They are both grieving just in different ways, and it's so heartbreaking, y'all. So heartbreaking. Just know that there is a happily ever after. It just takes a lot of tears and heartache to get to that happily ever after. 5 stars. Oh, and I highly recommend the audiobook for both of those last books I talk about. The Husband Hoax was narrated by, of course, Teddy Hamilton and James Joseph, who does a brilliant, I mean, he is English, so his English accent is for this character. They both just brought out the characters in the story. Same goes with What We Broke. It's Teddy Hamilton and someone else. I don't have the other narrator written down, but he also really brings out the character in that story. So good. Then we move on to Without You. This is also by Morley Valentine. With You. I'm sorry. With You by Morley Valentine. This is actually the second book from Without You. I read Without You a couple years ago, so I wanted this fresh in my mind. And what made me, well, I knew With You was coming out, but when I read What We Broke first, I realized that all these characters were tied in to the same story, kind of. So that made me want to go ahead and jump into With You, but I wanted to refresh my memory on Without You. Does that make sense? So let's talk real quick about Without You. Like I said, I read this a couple years ago, so I mean, I remembered the story, but I needed it fresh in my mind so I wanted to feel the characters. I gave this 5 stars. Of course, this is Julian and Deacon's story. In the beginning of this story, there's also a loss in this story that Julian and Deacon both share. Deacon's grieving over his brother, and Julian is grieving over his lover and his best friend. Deacon and Julian never really got along. I think Julian was in a way jealous of the relationship that, Deacon was jealous of the relationship that his brother had with Julian. So this is also, I guess, a bi-awakening story. And I think that's really all you need to know about these 2 characters. I do highly recommend reading this book before you go into With You. So With You is actually just a tiny novella, a very short read. I read it in one day. It's just a continuation of Julian and Deacon's story. So I guess the author just wanted to give us, you know, like just a little ending to this story, especially because we have Julian and Deacon are both in What We Broke, and their story kind of links with the book, with this book. I was like getting it all confused in my head. Deacon had some struggles with his family in Without You, so that kind of resolves a little bit in this little novella, and as well as another part of the story. I don't want to talk too much about it. It is a very short read, but it just, like, when I read What You Broke, it made me want to jump back to Without You so I can read With You, because I wanted their Deacon and Julian's story to be fresh in my mind. Okay, we're gonna move on. Highly recommend all of those 3 books. 5 stars for all 3 of them. Without You and With You were both narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Tim Page. All right, and last and certainly not least, and then we'll be caught up with all my male romances up through May. So yay! This is The Last Guy on Earth. This is the 3rd book in the Hockey Guy series by Serena Bowen. 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. I loved all the books so far, book 1 and 2. All the books are have different characters. They can be read as standalones. Some of the characters may be in the background, but you don't need to really know who they are to really get the heart of the story, because the heart of the story is about the other 2 characters. So this is Jethro and Clay's story. This is a second chance romance. These guys were buddies in college. They played on the same hockey team. Both were not quite out yet. Jethro is still trying to figure out his bisexuality. Clay does know he's gay, and he was secretly in love with Jethro, of course. Sadly, after college, the 2 guys end up going separate ways, and this left Jethro very heartbroken and bitter. But there's a reason he's left bitter. I don't want to give that away. I want you to read the book. Then we jump 15 years later where Jethro is being traded to the team that Clay is currently coaching. Jethro is still very much in love with Clay, still very, very bitter. There's some tension between the two of them, maybe a little enemies to lovers a little bit, but I really love the connection, the reconnection of these two characters, and getting to know them through their backgrounds for each of their stories, and how they end up coming back together and what to look forward to in their future. Great story. Like I said, 5 stars. Also listen to this one as well, because Teddy Hamilton and who was the other narrator? J.F. Harding, also a great male romance narrator. All right, that leaves us caught up with my male romances. So yeah, until the end of June, of course, well, I'll have some more male romances to talk about. Now, I really need to catch up on my thriller, so I think I'm gonna film that next. So stay tuned for that. Thank y'all so much for watching. Hope you're all doing well out there. Happy Pride. Hope y'all are enjoying your Pride Month, celebrating who you are, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.